Hey boos, in this video I give commentary based on my opinion. Nothing is to be taken as factual. We are just here to have conversation. We don't expose and we don't sip tea on this channel. I'm giving you real talk straight, no chaser. Let's see if you can handle it.
Cause I'm a boss.
Oh, hell no. Hi guys, it's Yoni and I'm back with another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the black man versus the black woman. Why are we at war? Why is there a gender war among the black community? So let's go ahead and get into today's video. When it comes to this topic of conversation, I feel like we're in competition with each other. And there's a lot of talking, a lot of bashing, a lot of hate, a lot of disrespect, and there's not a lot of listening, there's not a lot of understanding, and there's just not a lot of trying to really be emotionally intelligent enough to handle this conversation. And a lot of it has to do with when we speak on either party. You know, if you're a black man and you're speaking on a black woman, or if you're a black woman speaking on a black man, you have gone through things that are triggering. So when we try to have conversations like this, we are bashing, we are spewing hate, we are showcasing bitterness, and we are not emotionally intelligent enough to have these kind of conversations. And it's because we're not going to therapy, we're not acknowledging what we have gone through to where we can literally let it be in the past. Or if you're currently going through something, we are not getting the help that we need in order to overcome our situation. So in order for us to have a conversation when it comes to this gender war that's among the black community, we need to be emotionally intelligent enough to have the conversation. And a lot of us are not, because we are taught to be the strong one. We're taught to pray when it comes to the black church. We're taught to be a ride or die. We're taught to stay down and be down for our man when it comes to being a black woman. Or when it comes to a black man, they are taught to not express themselves and not be emotionally available, emotionally aware. So there's just this space that we have created within the black community where now we're at war with each other. And to be honest, we have been at war for some time now. It didn't just start this year or last year or 5 years ago. We have been at each other's throats for some time now. And I'm going to give you a little bit of history when it comes to the black community and how this gender war originally started and where it started. But first, I'm going to say this: if the comments get disrespectful, I will be turning off the comments, because that really defeats the purpose of this video. If you cannot be respectful, if you cannot be emotionally intelligent, if you are easily triggered, if you have issues that you are still trying to deal with, or maybe your current situation doesn't make you emotionally intelligent right now to have this conversation, then please click off the video, because I don't want to create a video that's going to cause, or it's going to add more fuel to this fire. So when it comes to this video, my expectations, or what I really want, is for us to find understanding, for us to hear either party out. And I will say this, and I have played a huge part in this as well. As a black people, we generalize each other a lot, and you don't really see other races doing it. And I know where we get it from. We get it from white people generalizing us as thugs, loud, ghetto, you know, and so we turn around and we generalize each other because it's being done to us. White people project their stereotypes onto us, and they also project generalization onto us, and so we turn around and we do it to the next person. Doesn't matter if it's male or female. So let's go ahead and get into the history of how this gender war started. And I have to go back to the civil rights movement. We could go back to slavery, but I don't want to spend all day on this video. I really want to go back to the civil rights movement because honestly, that was the last time within our history where black women and black men were a unit. And now we are broken. There's no unity. There's no working together. There's no understanding the next person. We as women, in a lot of cases, we don't even know our positions when it comes to being with a man. We think that being superior to a man or going head to head with a man is our place, and it's not. And when it comes to a man being a man, they are not stepping up. They are not being leaders. And so a lot of times we as black women find ourselves in leadership positions that black men should be in. There's just a lot of dysfunction that is causing this gender war. And this is why I started the brand, The Feminine Yoni. And if you haven't, go ahead and subscribe to that channel, because I truly believe that if you follow a feminine lifestyle as a black woman, we could literally change the whole narrative when it comes to the black community. And how can we do that? By taking care of ourselves, by understanding our positions as black women, by not trying to be a man, by not believing or living the black independent woman rhetoric, and by standing in our power as a feminine woman. I truly believe that the Feminine Yoni, a woman's guide to a feminine lifestyle, can really help save the community. And it doesn't involve a black woman being an activist warrior for a black man. It doesn't mean the black woman has to be an activist warrior for the entire black community. It simply means that she goes and she stands in her power and her truth as a feminine woman, and she just focuses on that, and everything else will fall into place. I truly believe that. That's why I started the brand, because I truly feel that it's the answer to a lot of the things or a lot of the dysfunction that's within the black community. And the reason for that is because the black woman's influence is very, very powerful, and I talked about that in my previous video. So I truly believe that if more women would go back to being the feminine woman, it would cause black men to step up to the plate, to be leaders, and to be the men that we need them to be based off of our feminine influence. That's my thought process when it comes to my brand, The Feminine Yoni. I'll make sure to leave links down below in the description box. Let's go ahead and get into the history of why this gender war started. And I'm going to start with the civil rights movement, because that was the last time that the black woman and the black man came together as a unit. But now we are broken and we are dysfunctional, and it started with the civil rights movement being diminished, broken, destroyed. The civil rights movement started in 1954 and it ended in 1968. With the civil rights movement, that was a threat to white supremacy. It was a threat because the black man was seen and was placed in leadership position, and the black woman influenced that black man that was placed in that leadership position, which was a threat to white supremacy. So let's look at the Obamas, okay? The Obamas came into the White House and they changed things pretty quick compared to other families that have been in the White House. And part of that had a lot to do with the fact that this woman, Michelle Obama, was able to influence this man who was a leader. And they didn't like that. So when it came to this election recently with Trump and Hillary, they needed to take back their power. White supremacy needed to take back their power. They elected Trump, a white man, over a white woman, because there was no way they were going to allow Hillary into office right after Barack Obama came out of office. Right after a black man leaves office and then we put a white woman in the office, that was an issue. So white supremacy is all for white women having rights up until it's a threat to white supremacy and the white man. And that's why the Obamas being in office was such a big deal. It wasn't because they were just black. It was because you saw the black man who was in a leadership position, the most powerful leadership position, and we saw the black woman who was the second as far as the most powerful when it comes to leadership position, and she was able to influence him. She was able to influence him while he was in office. That is a threat to white supremacy because it can overthrow white supremacy. As Black people, we are very smart, we are intelligent, we're creative, we're inventors, we're scientists. We could really create our Wakanda. We are capable of really doing that. But because there's no unity within our community, that is a way that white supremacy can remain what it is today. So when we look back on the civil rights movement, that was a threat to white supremacy. And so they wanted to do any and everything that they could to break that up, which meant to break the Black family, right? So they're not gonna go for the second strongest, they're gonna go for the first strongest, and they attacked Black men. The Black man was the biggest threat. The Black man was the biggest threat because a Black man going head to head with a white man, it's not a match. Let's be honest, it's not a match. So they went for him first, and then when it comes to the Black woman, they attacked our mentality because we were able to influence the Black man. They physically broke down the Black man, but they mentally broke down the Black woman. They focused more on our mentality versus the Black man. They still broke the Black man mentally, but they attacked him physically. That's why more Black men are incarcerated in modern day. If you look at the statistics, incarceration for a Black man is way higher than any other race. Why? Because they had to physically remove these Black men out of the homes intentionally to take in and make sure that their power remained power when we speak on white supremacy. So when it comes to the civil rights movement, they broke it down, and I'm going to explain how they went about doing that. So the first thing that they did was women's rights started in 1848, and that was the fight among white women. But the feminist movement started in 1960. Now, civil rights movement didn't end until 1968, so that means that we were still segregated, right? We were still separated. We weren't living among white people during that time, but the feminist movement had already started. So that is an 8-year difference, and that is very crucial when speaking on the feminist movement. In 1955, that was when Rosa Parks sat on the bus and everything like that. And that's when people started taking it more seriously because she made a stance. So again, the Black woman's influence created the civil rights movement. Moving on from that, slavery ended in 1865. However, it just meant that the 13th Amendment was created. But in the South, people were still enslaving Black people because a lot of Black people weren't aware that they were free based off of the Constitution because they couldn't read, they couldn't write. For whatever reason, they didn't have the knowledge to understand that they were free. So in the South, some of them were still practicing slavery even after 1865. So one way that white supremacy broke the civil rights movement was the feminist movement. They started to include and they started to target Black women when it came to the feminist movement. However, when the movement first started, Black women were not seen as human. So when they figured that, hey, if we target Black women when it comes to the feminist movement and we get them on our side, that they don't need a man, that they can do it all, that they are strong, that they are independent, and that they can literally do what a Black man can do, then we can break up the civil rights movement. We can separate the Black man from the Black woman. So they really started to target the Black woman when it came to the feminist movement. That's why you have a lot of women who walk around with the mentality, I'm a strong, independent Black woman and I don't need a man. That was one way that they broke up the civil rights movement, was when they started targeting Black women when it came to the feminist movement. Another way that they broke the civil rights movement was when they made welfare a thing.
The welfare system has changed a lot throughout our history, and when the welfare system first came out, it was catered to women after the Great Depression, and then later throughout our history it started catering to poor, divorced, and separated women with children, and then it later changed yet again and started focusing on poor, never married women who have had out of wedlock births. So throughout our history, the welfare system has changed. However, during the 1960s, that's when the government started to target Black women when it came to the welfare system.
And welfare, the number one thing, the number one requirement on the list was men cannot live in the home. So what did black women do? They kicked the man out the home so they could get those benefits, because a black man trying to get a job where he is facing things like racism, prejudice, and all of that on the job, or even when it comes to job hunting and applications, how is he supposed to provide for his family? How is a black man going to beat the system if they were offering welfare and it was saying a man couldn't be in the home, but he's going out trying to get a job, trying to provide for his family, and they're not giving him a job. They're not giving him a job that pays well. And so this black woman is like, well, I'm sick and tired of putting up with this, so I'm gonna just kick you out and get on welfare because that's better for me. That's how they broke up the black family.
Who uses welfare more, the black community or the white community, being that those are the two most predominantly talked about races?
Well, African Americans are only about 13% of people in the United States of America, so actually white people do use assistance way more than black people.
So why do you feel like the stereotype is that black people need help from the government versus us actually like being set up to need it?
Because white people in the government, I feel like they don't talk about their faults and what they do. They don't talk about institutionalized racism. They don't talk about systematic oppression, and they don't talk about how systems are set up for people to fail. And they don't want to take responsibility for that. And I feel like the media, the government, everybody portrays black people as lazy and as if we can't get a job or things of that nature, but really we weren't equipped with the education to get a job in the first place. But nobody wants to talk about that. People look at the end result versus why the problem is what it is.
Another thing that they did was they put crack in our neighborhoods. And it doesn't matter if a black woman got hooked on crack or if a black man got hooked on crack. It didn't matter. It broke up that family. And then it was able to trickle on down into our children, which now we are a product of that when we look around.
You know how many guys out here like me selling dope? You know how many kilos of dope coming to the United States? You know how many times it's handled and how many people get a cut off that money? Everyone is selling dope. From the government on down. You don't cut off the hand that feeds you. So in other words, if that's where I'm getting the dope from, should I tell and cut off my neck?
I mean, yeah, you know, the 60s was very revolutionary in terms of thought and in terms of imagery. Black is beautiful. We love ourselves. And it's documented. It's not even a myth or anything that is a conspiracy theory that the community was flooded with drugs in order to stop this stuff. I mean, you know, Hoover and the FBI, and they made sure that the drugs were an influence in the community. And it certainly had its effects. Just how drugs affect your brain, they affected the community. It made everything out of focus, everything fuzzy. The drugs almost had a renaissance when they did the same thing with crack. You know, it was heroin then, it was crack after that. But that's, you know, people who are poor and oppressed, they focus on survival. The drugs seem like an easy escape route.
We are a product of crack being distributed within our communities. We are a product of the feminist movement. We are a product of the civil rights movement being broken, being destroyed. And that's why there is this gender war among black men and black women. They try to literally destroy us from our foundation of family.
I think a lot of women struggle because they don't understand the plight of the black man and what we go through between the ages of 25 and 35. And I think that's the real issue here, is why we as a people can't understand each other. You know, majority of the women who are going to watch us are black, right? And I feel like we systematically are taught not to like each other. If you look at just cosmetics, like he said, light skin, light eyes. You know, you see a woman, all these women on TV are getting lip injections, right? But if a black woman walks in with full lips, her lips are too big. What black men are going through in these days is that we're trying to grind. We're trying to establish ourselves. A lot of the men up here got bachelor's degrees, right? You're the first in your family to get a bachelor's degree probably, right? Did your father have a bachelor's degree? So what we're competing against is that a lot of black women are looking on TV and they're living that lifestyle like, man, I want somebody who's 25, fully developed spiritually, mentally, has his foundation together, his money together, and wants to be with one woman.
This whole civil rights thing and how it ended in 1968, that's basically when the black family was no longer. That's why I go so hard for black women, and that's why I go so hard for black men, because a lot of us, we're not even able to acknowledge what really happened to us as a collective. You know, we sit here and we bash each other, we generalize each other, and we're projecting what has been done to us onto each other. And I'm aware of that. So even when black women come at me sideways, I never take it personally, because I'm in a position of being understanding of why they reacted that way. Like, even when I posted my community tab, I didn't delete it because of what people were saying about me. I deleted it because it really defeated the purpose of me posting it. If you're not going to take in the information or my post in a positive way, there's no need in me keeping the post up. That's how I look at it. So when I was getting personally attacked, I didn't take it personal. People don't owe me an apology, because at the end of the day, I know where I stand within myself and why I think the way that I think and why I do what I do as far as how I live my life and my lifestyle. So no one could ever come in and change that for me. But at the end of the day, this is my way of thinking. Even when some girls come at me and say, oh, Yoni, like, you are giving me light skin tears, that stuff don't bother me. We have been conditioned to be at each other's throat. We have been conditioned, even when it comes to colorism. If you look at the culture of YouTube, you would think that only black women deal with colorism, but black men deal with colorism too.
Black women want a man with light skin feelings and dark skin dick. Wow. Wow.
Whoa,
Wowzers.
that does not say that.
I mean, literally, wow. That's where we're gonna go with
That-
this.
it's-
Yeah, fuck
And you wondering why I was sitting like this.
Shit.
That's
What is
why.
that?
Because
What is
I'm
that?
dark skinned.
right.
You see how you sit like this? It's a difference. When you dark skinned, you sit like this.
But if you look at the culture of YouTube, it's just black women. It's just black women. It doesn't give a voice for black men. I spoke with Jay Black here on YouTube, and I really need to email him back, because like I was saying to him, we need more black commentators on YouTube. I want to see more black men coming on here giving their opinions about certain things over certain topics that we as black women like to discuss on YouTube. Another thing, when it comes to the culture of YouTube, there's a lot of pandering when it comes to black women. A lot of these creators that cater to black women, they really cater to their insecurities. They really cater to the man bashing. They really cater to the hate of the black man. There's just a lot of pandering on here, and that whole rhetoric and that whole movement is not going to help this black man versus this black woman. And I really feel like we need to hear each other out. But in order for us to do that, we have to be emotionally intelligent. And my therapist is teaching me what that truly means. And to be emotionally intelligent, you have to understand that not everything needs a reaction, and that you also have to understand that people are in different places than you when it comes to emotional control. Emotional intelligence is so important for us as black people to be able to move forward, because we have been through so much when we speak on the black community. That's really all that I have for this video. And to be honest, you guys, if you would like for me to make this into a series, give this video a thumbs up, because I would like to elaborate more on this topic, and maybe I'll bring a black man on and we can do a part 2 to this series. But I just wanted to start this conversation. When it comes to the gender war, I really just want it to end, because there's no benefit. One thing that I'm tired of seeing is when we speak on this whole gender war movement, everyone wants to speak on their trauma and their experience, but no one wants to listen to the next person, and that's going to hold us back. And part of being emotionally intelligent is listening. That's all that I have regarding this video. I would love your thoughts and opinions, so make sure you comment them down below respectfully. Make sure you go ahead and hit that notification bell so that you are notified for when I upload. And also, if you're new, subscribe to my channel, support your girl. I'll catch you in my next one.